All right, what's going on, Bus Nation? Hope you guys are having a wonderful Sunday. Wanting to go ahead and catch up on some of the different commitments that have happened over the last few days. Today, going to be breaking down Ethan Boyd and also give you my thoughts. I've watched his game against Ohio State this past year. I'll kind of give you my synopsis on some of his strengths and areas of growth. Y'all smash that like. Let me know your thoughts on him in the comments, and let's go ahead and get into it, okay? So Ethan Boyd is now joining a Colorado Buffaloes offensive line room that I feel like is really coming together in terms of the room just has a lot better athletes, okay? You know I like my offensive linemen big, no drizzy, and we're bringing in a handful of bigger offensive linemen, fairly athletic, like overall to the room, okay? And when I'm looking at Ethan Boyd, I love the fact that he has a lot of playing experience, especially in the Big Ten. I'm not really sure where he will finish out in terms of where he's at on the depth chart or even what position he's playing on the offensive line. But the fact that we now have guys like Payton Kirkland, Zach Owens, Ethan Boyd right here. This is fantastic for the room as a whole. We're getting bigger and more athletic together. So this is very important in terms of just building quality depth in the room. Now, let's go ahead and get to Ethan Boyd, 6'7", 325 pounds. That's fine size for an offensive tackle. And compared to some of the other guys that we brought in, played a lot of right tackle, okay, not just left tackle, right tackle. He's played right tackle. So this is kind of interesting. He started 3 games this past year against Minnesota, Nebraska, and Ohio State. And it, to me, again, I've watched his whole game against Ohio State. To me, it seems like there was a rotation going on at right tackle throughout the entire season. Like they didn't really have a guy that just took that job, that separated himself from the rest of the room. And that's what I found interesting. He got some different starts here, but you can see he played multiple drives at different points throughout the entire season. So 182 pass snaps, low blocking grade of 43.3. Again, I've only seen his Ohio State game. I don't know if I would have given him a 0 going back and watching that. But again, guys, these grades are a little subjective. Take them with somewhat of a grain of salt. But he's a guy similar to some of the other guys that we brought in, like Khalil Benson, that I feel like excel a little bit more in the run game than they do the pass game. I've noticed that Ethan Boyd has really good run blocking grades. Let's go back here. Yeah, you can see he was serviceable. And even in his starts, I thought he did a fine job against Ohio State. And watching that game, 131 run blocking plays, graded out pretty well at a 67.7. That's I believe that's somewhere around Khalil Benson's run grade as well. And again, I would prefer right now, if we had to choose, we saw this last year, even if you're grading out well within the pass blocking, if you're not a sufficient run blocker, that's really going to hurt the offense in terms of being able to lay a running foundation with the offense and have effective play action, play off of that, all that. So, hey, a lot of these players, like I said, in the transfer portal coming in, they're going to have their areas of strength, and they're also going to have their areas that they need to work on. I don't think Ethan Boyd right now, I've noticed with his pass protection, he can get beat a lot by those quicker, twitchier edges. Guys that are able to kind of string together some feints and multiple moves, and they have quicker hands. Sometimes I've seen, at least in that game against Ohio State, that sometimes his hands are slow. Again, going up against some really good players at Ohio State, so maybe he has more success at the tackle position playing here in the Big 12. We'll just have to see. But Michigan State, they've had some very good offensive line coaches as well, and I think he moves really well north to south, right, or south to north. That toughest thing, I think, for tackles in general is having that lateral quickness to deal with those quicker guys coming off the edge. But there are ways to work around this. Okay, first off, he's a guy that you can run behind. So, of course, establishing a sufficient run game is going to be helpful. You could also have some tight end support or running back support chip and be responsible for helping him on those pass rush situations. And also, this is something that we've talked a lot about, and I'm hoping that Pat Shurmur can incorporate more of this into the passing game this year. And this is just quick passing game, hitting those slants, hitting those outlets, in the flats, the running backs in the flats, all of that. Let's use our athletes, get them in space, get the ball to them quickly in space, and you can make an average offensive line look better by play design and scheme, all of that. So, Ethan Boyd, he's got some things to work on, just like Khalil Benson does, just like the majority of our offensive linemen do. But I think we have enough size, strength, and talent there to have a sufficient performance overall from these offensive linemen, even if we are dealing with some injuries. And again, the scheme, all of that can make these guys look better as well. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't really know how this whole competition is going to work out at right tackle, which is really interesting. I think Ethan Boyd definitely adds some veteran experience to the room. I think he's got a couple more years of eligibility. I think he redshirted, played a couple of years, so he should have a couple of years left in the room, if I remember correctly. But I really have no idea how this whole room is going to come together between him, Khalil Benson, Payton, Kirkland, Zach Owens. But one thing to be encouraged about, Buffs fans, is that we got some serious athletes on the two deep now. And that's something that we didn't have the luxury of having this past year once we dealt with injuries. Again, we had some offensive linemen that were coming out there playing on one leg last year because it was better. It was a better option than some of the guys we had coming off the bench, sadly. So this is a move that I'm a really big fan of. I love the fact, again, we're bringing somebody in who is able to help establish that run game when he's in there. Again, a good run blocker. Does he have some things to grow with at the right tackle position with pass protection? Yes, but usually, guys, that's kind of the story of right tackles and kind of why they're not playing left tackle, is they can kind of struggle more with that lateral quickness. And that's why you see them playing right tackle instead of left tackle. So this is something that is common, and we'll see if Phil Woldholt is able to work with him to improve his hand speed, to improve his lateral quickness, foot speed. We'll see if Pat Shurmur and Shedeur work together in a way in which they run an offense that is cognizant of these different efficiencies and deficiencies on the offensive line. But I love the fact, again, we're bringing in another NFL-sized tackle here at 6'7", 325. We'll see what he can do, and we'll see how this whole line shakes out. So y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Again, welcome to the Buffs, Ethan Boyd. He's going to be a wonderful addition to the room. But right now, if I had to give my prediction, is probably Khalil Benson is going to maintain that starting right tackle position right now. I don't really know. We haven't seen Zach Owens or Payton Kirkland play, so I don't really know. Well, has Zach Owens taken snaps? Maybe I'm tricking myself, but I haven't watched him yet, so I don't know. So y'all let me know your thoughts in the comments. Appreciate you guys for sticking with me. I'll be back later, and as always, y'all, go Buffs.